Hey everybody, welcome to something I want to try to start doing called Footlocker Friday. Now that the weather is beautiful again, I can get outside and start doing taller figures. Now these aren't the tallest ones, these are not foot long figures, but these are from the G.I. Joe series. And as soon as I start, I hear this ringing noise. Alright, so let's look at some of the these are some newer figures that I've bought. Now I had every single one of these except maybe Rollout, I'm not 100% sure. This is Duke in the command suit, I think is what it's called. He's supposed to have a helmet, which would be much better for him. Somebody's sawing something. I was like, what is that noise? We have a Storm Shadow with his arm showing. I don't know which version of Storm Shadow this is, but I got him because I thought the bike and him, although the bike is green, so it's probably not his bike. He does have a white bike. I'm getting in the mail a 12-inch Storm Shadow that came with the bike for the 2008 movie. And I want to compare the bikes because these guys are so close to the 12-inch figures, but so far away. They're supposedly 8 inches tall. I did not bring a measuring device out here. You know, you can always go online and find out this information. Not a lot of people are putting this information for these figures on the YouTubes, probably because YouTube came out after these were already kind of gone and unfortunately forgotten. I did find a few videos out there, and I'm really glad to see some people are still showing some love for these figures, although some of those videos are 12 years old. I personally like these figures because something about them spoke to me. I am a 3 3/4 inch figure, but growing up I collected three different scales majorly: 12-inch, 8-inch for the Mego, and 8.5, 9 inches for Super Joe. So yeah, I put them in the same universe. And then in their own universe was the 3 3/4, and then when He-Man came along, of course, they were the deities and the gods and the monsters for that universe. So we got Roll Bar, I think this is his name, probably Barrel Roll, that's it, Barrel Roll, he's the one I don't know. We got my third favorite character from G.I. Joe as since a Real American Hero rolled out, and that is Spirit Iron Knife. We got my second favorite character. Now I have my favorite character, I got one inside, but I only wanted to highlight the ones that I've bought off of eBay in the last month or so. Storm Shadow is my second favorite G.I. Joe character, and Duke is really awesome looking in that. So let's take a look at these figures up close. So I tried to clean them up a little bit. Barrel has something very interesting. He has a snap grip. Now they came just like this, and no weapons, nothing except for, of course, the one guy right here named Duke. They have very cool articulation. Their head is only a ball joint. They have an upper torso crunch, which is ridiculous because who can do that? Maybe I've forgotten it. You know, they can spin around pretty much 360 at the waist, but since my young years, I'm afraid to do that because of Superman's fiasco of spinning him around and around and around, making Red Tornado and snap the rubber band. I know these don't have rubber bands, but it's still something in my head. All right, so the arms can go up that much, go down this much. They have articulation in the shoulders or the elbows that can go up this much and go out this much. Now some of them don't have the same articulation. I'm just going to tell you that right now. This is the basic articulation. He's pretty much a basic articulation figure. The newer ones started getting double joints in the knees, like Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes were the first two to get that. They got in and out, and of course 360 degrees for the wrist. He's also got one of the later features, which is this. They didn't have that in the earlier ones. The legs are on a hinge joint, and these are very solid figures. You might be thinking these are 20 years old, so they should be brittle by now, but they're made out of a very hard but yet pliable kind of plastic. It's hard to explain, but it's a very good plastic. That's why another reason I really thought these were amazing. They would last forever. They don't have a thigh cut, but they do have right here at the knee a pseudo thigh cut. So when you put them on the motorcycle, yes, they can grab a hold of that motorcycle. They don't have anything as far as left and right in the ankles, but they do have up and down. Like I said, later the ninjas would start getting more articulation here, here, and here. So he's got your basic articulation. The outfits are amazingly cool too. I love the outfits for two reasons. The color schemes, they have the Legion of Superheroes looking color schemes with the black on the sides and the color of their choice in the middle, or well, probably not his choice, but they are more of an elite team. And they also have very many holes, which bring me back to Centurions. And I kept hoping they would do more with these holes, but they never seem to do anything with them. They made all these holes all over their bodies. Here, 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 here for him, here, and here. And then there's 4 on the back. even when they got backpacks, they were elastically attached to the figure, so I could use those for my Super Joes, which I plan to do when I find them. Instead of just plugging them into the back, which would have made way more sense. I don't understand why they really never used that feature. I was always hoping for arm cannons like on Centurions. That's how my Centurions always rolled. Or some kind of things for the legs, like, you know, remember apes from the, what is that series called? No, it wasn't called the Meow series. It was called the, no, it wasn't called that series either. Cops. So Cops and Crooks. Of course, my cats, as soon as I get on here, they want their attention. Hey, it's not your turn. It's my time up here. It's your time down there. All right, so this is my favorite from Spirit Iron Knife. Now, his legs have some similar articulation, but he does have a swivel right here. Unlike this guy who does not have that swivel. He just has up and down, but not left and right. That's right, you two play with each other, leave me alone. So he does have a little bit different articulation, like I said, some of them do. Of course, he's one of the very first ones that came out, and he does not have the articulation. He has this for his bow hand, because he has bow and arrows, because he is Native American. They want to kind of, you know, capitalize on that idea. If you took this off, you would see that he's actually got a cool uniform underneath. Just going to take that off real quick. And don't play any weird music. No, I'm not doing that. I'm trying to just show you what the uniform looks like underneath. Because even without the pants, oh, he does have little things. These are so well made. There's so many little things that you don't think about for, you know, clothing for a GI Joe. Another thing is, if it's above 4 inches, maybe 5 inches at the most, I wanted to have clothing because that's what I grew up with. The Migos had clothing. They were basically the same underneath, with a few fat ones here and there, like Penguin and Cowardly Lion. So I want them to have clothing if they're that big, because what's the point of being that big? You can hide the joints with some really cool clothing. All right, trying to get these off, and I definitely want to put them back on later because I like the way they look on him. Plus, I'll probably get another one later. It doesn't have the pants. So see the boots? They got the moccasin boots, which are really cool. Now, you would think they swivel, but they don't. But the boots, they look really good, and they call back to his whole Native American thing. Now, speaking of the, you know, tattoos and the, you know, the Thunderhawk right there on his arm, I'm not 100% sure which tribe he's from. Like, I'm from the Cherokee tribe personally. Don't ever untie this thing. I did it on mine. Oh my gosh, it was almost impossible to get back. And to tie it right back in the back, that was also impossible. I think this person did it because originally the two things went down. I think this person tried to untie it and tried to tie it back and had the same problem I had, because this does not look like the way it should have been. All right, so see, his suit looks really cool. It's got the 6 right here. So that's why I think that these were made from an adjacent series. They started making ones that weren't really Sigma 6 and they look more like US Army. That's why he's got the old stripe, stars and stripes, literally. So I think he came out way later, but he didn't have the added articulation because he's not a ninja. They figured, what's the point? All right, so other than that, that's the same articulation. You would think this guy's going to have some more. He does have this, but he doesn't really have any new additional articulation. What I plan to do with this one after I find mine is to do some paint on those lines. I'm not sure if I want to do, I was originally thinking about gold down here on the red. I think that would make that look really good, the gold where the lines are. Or at least the outlined part, not gold 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, not those 6 pieces inside, gold trimming around it, like gilded. I think that would make it look really good. And then up here, I definitely want some kind of lining. I'm thinking actually red would look good. I was thinking about silver earlier, but I'm going with red, or, you know, maybe even black, but definitely red. And then this one, I think out of all of these figures, this one really pops. Now this one's a later version of Duke. Duke came out pretty much in his normal uniform. This one came out like with a lot more heavy armor on. He had a helmet. He again, oh, and I forgot to show you some difference of the ports. So the ports and some of the other features, he doesn't have the flip up screen on this one, but he obviously has the same body as this guy, and he's actually got his arm on backwards, I just realized. There we go. So he has this little flip up comm screen. Now, before we had, this was actually in the days before we had smartphones, or at least before I had a smartphone, I put it that way. 2006, I think, is whenever he was made. Around that time, 2005 for this particular one. He had the flip-up screen. And I remember they didn't have these at my Walmart, so I had to go all the way out of town to the place called Target to get these. But, and I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how expensive they were going to be. I think they're like $15, which sounds like nothing now, but that seemed a lot expensive. He's not going to have any of that stuff, like the ports. He's not going to have them, even though it could really help with this ninja sword being plugged into his back. But he doesn't have anything. He's got these jammies on. He's got this thing. It looks kind of like a tux. But yeah, so he's got clothing too. Now back to him, because he's got some additional ports, I'm pretty sure. He's got the 4 on the back. He's got the 2 on the shoulders. He's got the meow. He's got one right here. He's got one on his leg right here, one on his shin, and he's got reinforced, you know, because he's got all the extra weight on him, he's going to have his ankles reinforced, otherwise he's going to cripple himself. So they did plan out some good things on this. Like this right here is obviously, oh, and it's got a little, so a pseudo, you know, foot movement there. That's cool. Let's see, he still has it up here. And then he's got the crotch movement like this, like all the other ones do. And he does have a belt. I'm not going to take the belt off because it's a pain in the butt to put back on. I remember from the past. He also has the flip up com, which has been flipped up and broke off. These things usually, okay, the fact that he still has one is kind of lucky. These flip off things are like the first thing to disappear on most of these, other than hats and guns and stuff. All right, so let's take a look at that armor. This armor is part of his body. I was thinking you could take it off, but you can't. I like the way it looks. It's got that, you know, very Robotech looking to me. And he just looks really good in those colors. They really pop on him. All right, so we got all 4 of the new figures out to the side. I'm not going to open this on this video. I'm going to wait till another one. But we have a hover bike. Just showing you what's on the packaging, because we'll get into it next time. He also comes with some weapons, which will be great right there. All right, so I'm going to open this on to go through the rigmarole of opening it for the next video and show it on the next video after I get these cats a little bit of attention, because they just will not shut up. Right? No, never mind. He's being quiet right now. Shh. Don't distract him.